Back in the day when life was free, I was a flower child. I turned my back, stuck out my thumb, and let my spirit lead. We were out of gas, but everything was groovy. We were low on cash, but everything was cool. We could all get high on the color of the sky, like regurgitated hippies, still in search of peace and love.
So, Bruce, let's start out with what was a hippie?
A hippie, in my mind, was someone that was a little disillusioned with life, that was looking for an alternative reality.
And surprised where the Viet Cong had vanished into the jungle days before.
We were being hit with the Vietnamese War at the time. There was nuclear conflicts around the world. We were very afraid, and we were looking for something else. We knew there was more to life than what we were seeing.
Can you describe what your childhood was like?
I was raised in a military family. My dad was an officer in the Army. He was a fifth-generation military man. We had 4 kids in our family. 2 of them went on to be officers in the Army, and then I was born.
What year would you say you became a hippie then?
The pre-phase was when I was in high school, and I moved to California, and I started taking drugs at 14 years old. It was just recreational stuff we would do on the weekends. Sometimes during lunch, we would take LSD, smoke pot, smoke opium. Eventually, I got into snorting cocaine.
Kind of explain some of the things that changed, like what your clothes were like.
Usually, I just wore a Muslim. It felt like a gunny sack, pretty much, but it was white, and I felt like I was pure. I was on the path to purity. And I would never wear anything leather. I was a vegetarian. I didn't want to wear any animal products whatsoever. And so I wore a rope around my waist. And I would fast a lot, primarily because I didn't have any money.
What changes did your parents, siblings, and friends notice in you after high school?
Well, they should have noticed a lot more than they actually came to admit later on. Once, years later, I talked to my mom, and I confessed to her, "Mom, I took drugs all through high school." And she said, "No, you didn't." I was coming home stoned a lot. They should have noticed my dilated eyes. They should have noticed how angry I was getting with the world and how reclusive I was becoming. I just was withdrawing completely, hiding out in my room, playing music to, late hours.
Can you remember anything specific about your dad and how he reacted to you?
My dad was right in the end of his military career. He never made it, by the way. Yeah. Sometimes I blame myself for that because I was the hippie son that he had, and he actually fought for me not to go to Vietnam because he said we weren't trying to win the war. So he said, "I don't want to lose you for a war we're not even trying to win."
Maybe 1 or 2 outrageous things that you did as a hippie that now you can't even believe you ever really did that.
The most outrageous thing I ever did, I and my drug dealing friend decided to fake our own death. I was hanging around with a bunch of drug dealers. The law wanted to get them, And they wanted to get to me to testify against them. So they put a grand jury indictment on me so that it would force me to testify against my friends. Because if I wasn't alive, I wouldn't have to testify. So I bought a car and registered in my name, and we went to a party and told everybody we were going down to Esalen that day, but we were sober, completely sober. We drove my car way down the coast past Hurricane Point, and we pushed my car off a cliff, and it smashed into the ocean. The doors were off. The car was there, but if someone was in the car, they would have been flung out of it. It was investigated the next day by the police, and it was under suspicion that maybe it was a drug hit or something. So we disappeared. I ended up going to New Mexico, and I called my mom. I said, "Hey, Mom, this is Bruce." And I heard this, and my father picked up the phone and had some choice words to say, who the heck is this? And I said, "Dad, it's Bruce." And he started going off again with all the words. And he said, "Where have you been? What have you done?" And I explained it to him. I said, "Dad, I was gonna have to be forced to testify against people that may kill me." But things were never the same between my parents and I after that. It was always strained.
Now, was there a young lady that came into your life around this?
Well, yes. I was living in Big Sur, way out in the woods, 5 miles out, this little canyon called Garrapata Canyon. I built a house out there. Somehow, this young lady from Santa Cruz heard about this spiritual guy living in the woods. And I mean, if she'd have told me I'm looking for the spiritual guy living in the woods, I would have said, "I have no idea who you're talking about." And she thought maybe she could find some answers if she connected with me. So we met up at a spring equinox festival. We were sitting around a big drum corps and playing drum. We would do this. We would get together and we would play drums for hours. I was sitting there and this beautiful young thing came up and sat across from the fire from me. And I wasn't wearing my glasses at the time. I'm looking across and just saw this fuzzy thing that just looked gorgeous to me. And I picked up a guitar and I sang her a song, spontaneous song. Something about, "Oh, you who look so beautiful with your eyes shining bright," or something like that. Teresa came into my life, and we actually celebrated 50 years knowing each other this last April.
And does Teresa happen to be around?
Here she is.
Yay, hi! Bruce, first of all, thank you so much for giving us a look into your life back when you were young. Not that you're so old now, but wow, what an amazing story, and you're still alive to tell it. Give us an idea of how meeting each other impacted your life.
A friend of mine was telling me about this awesome guy in Big Sur. And so, like he had mentioned, I thought, I'm going to try to find this guy. When I met him, it put me on the road to a whole new way of living and searching and getting answers that I was looking for.
What a blessing to hear your stories. I can't wait to hear more about your lives. Until next time,
it's been real, man.
All right, until next time.
Take two.
I've already gotten approval from directors.
I know terms. That's awesome. Yeah, quick take. Yeah, just.
Actually, yeah. Do that instead, sorry. Just, and look over it.
5, 4, 3, 2.
And go.
Hey.
And that's on.